And very good. So this is the Life IQ week number 7. So let me quick share my screen and share screen and share screen and share. All right. So hopefully you can see that. This is, we switched over last time from the focus on building a strong foundation to building on a strong foundation for impact and influence. So as we get started, just a real quick, and I leave these in the slides on purpose, reminder that we focused on the foundation of a healthy mind, body, and spirit. I was just being asked this past week, I had created this program, and as I said back in January, the Lord just started giving all this stuff to me as thinking and praying about the coming year. Had no idea what the coming year was going to hold, of course, but one of the things I did is I got approached by the pastor in our church to help put together a leadership, more like a discipleship, mentoring, coaching kind of a process between the staff and the elders. And so we did that. And one of the things we did is we built it around these 3 points as well. And using some other materials and some resources, so some books and other things. But the idea, and he contacted me this past week, which is the reason I'm mentioning it, because they just started rolling it out. And the idea is that no matter where we show up in life, no matter what's going on around us, we need to tend to these things. Otherwise, we'll find ourselves, getting distracted and getting knocked off pace. So, as we talked about last week, we started talking about influence, but I wanted to go back and just ask both of you real quickly, Deb and Carol, so the goal is to try to not get distracted or pushed off of the focus of these 3. So how would you say you're doing in these 3 areas? You don't have to give a long check-in, but 30 seconds or so, just how do you see yourself doing in these, and what are you learning, especially given all the things going on around us right now?
Well, I'll just jump in since there's 2 of us. So
Yeah.
I think if I look back to where I was when we first started this group, Michael, I'm doing much better in all areas. I'm just more intentional, more aware of what I'm doing, and I'm still slipping back into, reading all kinds of news stories that just kind of feed the fuel of negativity. I'm again wanting to be informed, but at the same time being able to say, okay, it's time to take a break from that. And what else can I do? What am I, what is it that God's calling me to do? What does he have for me to do? Instead of just being, focused on something that I can't really do a lot about what's going on. I mean, I can, influence the sphere of influence that I have, which is probably the most important thing. So I'm just really grateful for this information, because it's really helped me a lot to just have a more intentional mindset around how I'm approaching each day. And I love when you say, how are you going to show up? So being more aware of that. How am I going to show up today? Okay.
No, that's good. I did the same. It's interesting because I, like you, we're all getting so much information. I was reminded, reading someone's article, somebody wrote an article about the fact that the human body and mind was meant to perceive danger and things to be concerned about, but it was for the purpose of protecting and sort of getting out of that. But when you're in a constant
Mhm.
place where it's just, constantly coming at you, it just tends to overwhelm the system. And so I've like you have made a very concerted effort to minimize. And his other point was, um, one of the things that the media does is they try to create ratings and try to create eyes, because and the thing that does that, of course, is the headlines and all the things. So there, these things, we didn't have a 24 hour news cycle, as all you'd remember back in at some day. You had to actually wait a few hours to hear the bad news, but you don't have to do that anymore. Not only do you hear it from one or two sources, you hear it from just, lots of places. And so our brains get just totally overwhelmed by that, and can become debilitating if we let it. So Carol, how about you? Hey, Crystal, thanks for joining. We're just doing a quick check-in on how we're doing on the healthy body, mind, spirit. So Carol.
Yeah, I agree with Deb. The importance of how we think, how we're going to show up is huge in how things work out for body, mind, and spirit. I'm thinking especially for me and mind. And that has been coming toward me in many, many different ways this past week. I'm taking a group coaching class, and she talked about how we show up and talked about the difference between heart and mind. And if we show up having prepared our minds, that the people we're working with, we're not going to be able to get as much out of them. But if we prepare our minds but show up with our heart, what's important for them, and doing the best for them, then the response is going to be greater. But there's just been so many other ways, scripture passages, people messaging me out of the blue, just reminding me to pay attention to what I hear. And there was a quote that the quote I had for this morning pretty much said, our outlook is defined by what we hear. And too, Deb, I'm so thankful for like my Q and just many other areas where I'm receiving kind of the same message, which I believe is from the Lord. Just what you put your mind on, what you hear, and that's going to determine how you show up. So that's been a great part of shaping my week.
Yeah, that's good. It's a good quote. Thank you. And yeah, remind, as a man or woman thinks in his heart, so is he, right?
Yes.
So Crystal, you mind doing a quick check-in since you joined? Thank you for coming.
I couldn't get in. Sorry about the delay. Yes, I have been much more intentional about spending longer periods of time with the Lord in just scripture reading, but also being very intentional to make sure that I worship. I mean, singing the music, singing worship songs every morning, one or two or more, or just even have it playing on the background as I'm going through my day. And there's power in just connecting with God in a fresh, new way. And it's been very, very, all the other things as well, reconnecting with my family physically, and I'll think of it. Oh, the Pause app. The Pause app has been a tremendous blessing for me personally. Tremendous.
Yeah, it gives you that nudge a couple times a day if you let it. So,
or if you pay attention.
Right. Yeah. So, all right, good. Well, thank you. So, so jumping into where we came in last week was this idea. So we're building on that foundation of a healthy body, mind, spirit, and in order to live with impact and influence. If we show up, we want to make sure that we show up where we make an impact in our environment and influence it. So last week we talked about this idea of beginning with self-awareness, and we sent out that needs, values assessment and strengths assessment. Anybody take that and want to care to give what you discovered about about yourself in either of those? And maybe those were old to you, maybe already had done those, but what did you learn about yourself either of those assessments?
Michael, I did both. And most of what I saw seemed pretty much right on with what I thought it would be. In the top five needs, mine was integrity, order, peace, accomplishment, and comfort. And I just found it interesting order was in there because I'm so disorganized. But I realize I do have a need for order. And it's one of the things that has been shaping up in me since beginning Life IQ, and also Mastermind 2020. Those things have been starting to line up. So order was one of the things that I didn't expect. And so it was a good thing. Yeah.
That's great. Yeah, it's helpful because then it helps you to understand, as you said, okay, how can I create in my environment things that help me to be more in this space so that I'm not working against myself, you know. All right. About Deb, Crystal, what did you guys, and if you didn't take these, what are your values or strengths if you're aware of them?
I printed it out. I have the needs values assessment ready to take. And during the Essentials of Life coaching class that I just completed, we talked about values. And but I'm interested in seeing what this assessment might show, and I'd like to do the strengths assessment as well. That's on my list.
Yeah, good. Yeah, I took them and then I just post them. I actually have a bulletin board you can't see across my room, but I post them so it reminds me then, okay, you know, this is who I am. These are the values, the needs, the strengths that I'm working within how God designed me. How about you, Crystal?
I actually didn't do them, but I can tell you that I need and value time down, just downtime to be able to unplug, to disconnect, to just be able to rest in my own thoughts. It really, my own thoughts are good and healthy for me. And I process all kinds of information that way, but I never saw it as positive. I always saw it as well, you know, you're wasting time and yet I really need that time as especially as an introverted HSP person. Apparently it's a good thing. It's probably
yeah, that's good. So the insight you learned is you need alone time and downtime, and it's not a negative thing, which is what you used to say to yourself. That's good. It's good awareness, Crystal. All right, so this week we're going to talk about who are you. A couple of things. So personality, this is not an area that's new to any of you, I'm sure. And then this idea of essence. So personality is something, of course, that we're born with, that God gave us. We didn't get to pick. You were just talking about yours, Crystal, but the more we understand about our personality, the more it'll help us to figure out how we interact with the world and how we interpret the world and what's going on with us. And it'll help to hopefully bring a little bit of clarity as well as discernment in order to decide, okay, how do I get involved in things? What do I do with that? But and then we're going to talk about essence here in a second. But the one thing I want to share is, let me see if I can share this. It's about the Enneagram, so hopefully y'all can see that. But this, hopefully, I'm not sure if you're all familiar with it, but essentially, you have these 9 different parts or 9 different types of the Enneagram. And so, as it says, it offers us intelligence, these centers of intelligence. So you have a body or gut intelligence, you have heart intelligence. So they use BQ, EQ, and then what we're familiar with, a lot of us, is IQ, thinking. So when you look at these, you'll notice the body or gut, the core motivation is power and control. Negatively, we can get angry and guilt. and say, I've had enough. So that could be what happens there. The heart level is the feeling triad, driven by feelings and image. So approval and affection are the core motivations. Negative fixation is shame or sorrow, and then the narrative is I'm not enough or I'm not good enough, right? And then on the 5, 6, 7, the IQ, the core motivation is security and survival, and there the negative fixation is fear and anxiety, and narrative is I won't have enough. So my guess is just probably knowing yourself, if you haven't even taken this, you might even be able to tell which one of those groups that you land in. So what would you say for yourself, Crystal? Which one of those 3 do you land in?
I think it's pretty easy. I'm in the hard IQ or EQ.
All right. Hard EQ. All right. Deb?
I think I'm with Crystal in the heart EQ.
Okay.
Yep.
Carol?
Yeah, I would say probably there. There's a part of me that wants to lean toward the body or gut. Be interesting.
And it's very possible, yeah. It's probably very possible. So, and I'm a 5, so I'm in this head IQ. But one of the things they talk about, and the more you study, the more you learn, is they have these things called wings. So you might be a wing of the 2 to 1 or something like that. And then there's also what they call, when you're using it, your type well in a positive way, you bring out more positives. Like for me, I'm a 5 and I use the 8 space well as also. So this is one that's typically for a strong leader. But when I'm using my 5 thinking, I can use that then to engage people. This is going to get to our topic, which we're going to talk about next week, which is our sort of a life mission statement. But it leads to, so I'm going to be sending you, share, go back and share the video again. What I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be sending out a document called the Enneagram Quick Reference Guide. So you all get this in the follow-up email, and it'll have some really good points in there. And you can take that assessment from a number of places. One thing they always tell you is, take the assessment. It'll probably get you pretty close to whatever you are. But the real key is, looking at that, asking other people about yourself. Which brings up this next question is, or ideas, which is about essence. So I think, Crystal, you probably heard me share this before.
Yes.
But, imagine whatever your favorite color is. I don't want to put anybody into a box. But imagine whatever your favorite color is. So I'm going to just pick the color blue, okay? And I'm going to say blue is my favorite color, like my cup here. And when I was born, I had a little blue light bulb on my head. Not literally, obviously. But wherever I am, it's blue. And so wherever I go, the environment around me takes on that blue hue. So the point of essence is, how does the room, how does the environment, how does the relationship, how does whatever you're involved in, how does that get affected or impacted by your essence? And the essence is not something, again, that you picked. It's just the way God wired you. And it's not even something that you're even aware of in many cases, which is, it can be a little frustrating and hard to discern on your own. Because again, it's never been the way that it is when you're around. You're always in that space, right? And so one of the things you can do, and is really helpful, is simply to ask other people around you. They have to know you well, clearly, so family members, close friends. What shows up when I show up? And that simple question can evoke a really fun conversations, but you're looking for, small, succinct answers. And so I did this with my family years ago now. And so the one for my oldest daughter was the word fun. Fun shows up when she shows up. For my wife, it was care, because she is her mission is to relate, create, lighten, and brighten. She's definitely on that EQ side. For myself, it was direction. That's what they said. Well, we know when you show up, we're going to get direction, which fits what my life mission statement. Again, we'll talk about these next week and how they fit. But the questions or the takeaways for this week is, if you haven't, take a personality assessment. If it's been a long time since you've taken one, I'd encourage you to take it again. Whether that's the Enneagram, great. I'm going to send that out to you. Whether it's a DISC or Myers-Briggs, those are all good as well. And then look for ways to allow the strengths to excel, as it says, while watching for the Achilles heel. So your goal is to work in the strength of your personality and also being aware of the downside, the negative side that can show up and undermine your effectiveness. And then the second question here is, what shows up when you show up? So that's the essence question. So I'm going to actually pause and see if anybody, just thinking about this again. I think probably some of you may have already given us some thought or could maybe even take a guess. Crystal, I'm going to start with you because I think you already know your answer. What shows up when you show up?
Joy. I am an empathetic bringer of joy.
All right. Nice. We could use more joy.
I would just like to say this probably was one of the most powerful things that I've done. It's a great exercise.
Yeah. Deborah, Carol, any guesses?
Mine would be one of two, either compassion or depth. I tend to be a very deep thinker, and generally bring that to the table of a group of people.
Okay, compassion or depth. Yeah, very good. How about you, Deb? What do you think?
I think it's probably encouragement. I can see compassion also, but encouragement, I've had people tell me I'm a cheerleader. So,
yeah, that's good. That's good. Yeah, it's good self-awareness, and that's the key. So knowing that when you show up that way, that's how the environment changes can really be helpful to you, so that you come recognizing, hey, this is how people see me. This is what they're getting, the value that when they connect with me, how I help them. And it certainly can help you understand how God has created you to make a difference in the world, whether it's one life or, many, many lives. That's the way He's created you. All right, good. So we're going to wrap up there. We got a couple minutes left, and then we're going to just close. So as always, the recording and all the information will be out here on the Crossways Life Coaching Life IQ spot. If you have any people you think might value or benefit from this, feel free to share it. There's nothing as far as a cost involved. It's just them getting the resources and being able to use it. And hopefully it'll bless and help them. So takeaways real quick. Why don't we start? Deb, would you mind leading us off? What's your takeaway from today?
Well, just that it's so important to have an idea of how you can show up or what shows up when you show up. I really like that. that idea, and I'm looking forward to revisiting some of the personality assessments I've done. It's been years since I think I've done Myers-Briggs, but it's been a long time ago. So, you know, just to get in touch with where I am right now would be really helpful.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And I'll send you as well, besides that quick reference, Enneagram quick reference, there'll be the exercise for the essence, so that you'll have that handy.
Oh, great. Thank you.
Carol, how about yourself?
Yeah, I think my takeaway is actually connected to what I initially brought into the conversation. Actually, with what shows up when I show up, and I'm connecting the dots to that quote that says basically what I think, you know, about what I think, and you know how what I hear affects the way I think. So I think what I hear is going to affect in some ways how I show up as well.
Yes. Yeah, no, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, it's been great to connect, and thank you all for coming. And I know, as I said at the beginning, other folks do watch these, and helping them as well. And glad to see that supporting and helping you all. So Lord
Yes.
bless.
Thank you.
Recording will come out later this afternoon, and we will see you all hopefully next week.
Yeah.
If
Thank
not
you for
sooner.
doing these.
You're
Appreciate it.
welcome.
Thank you, Michael.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Appreciate it.
All right. Take